My best friend was paralyzed from the waist down, and when I went to visit him, I stumbled onto a secret between him and his wife. The next day, that same friend made a shocking request that left me speechless. My buddy, Kevin, had been paralyzed for months, confined to his bed after a bad accident. I'd finally gotten some time off work, so I drove out to see him. He insisted on pouring me drink after drink, getting me pretty buzzed, and then asked me to stay the night. Hours later, I woke up needing to use the bathroom. As I walked back down the hall, I heard a sound coming from his bedroom that made my face flush hot. Kevin's wife, Maya, had been in our class back at State. She was the girl everyone had a crush on, a total knockout. It took Kevin the better part of our college years just to get her to go out with him. What he never knew was that I'd been quietly in love with her the whole time, too. I froze in the hallway, peering through the crack in the door. My eyes went wide. Inside, Maya was holding Kevin, her expression pained. Her face was flushed, her body ripe and ready like a summer peach. My name is Leo. It had been 5 years since graduation when I heard that my college roommate, Kevin, had been in a car wreck 6 months ago. As soon as I could, I took the long drive to his place. He could barely move, and Maya was the one taking care of him day in and day out. Seeing them like this, it was obvious how much she was suffering. His lower body was completely paralyzed. He was gone in that department. It was clear this life was a private hell for her. Bang! My hand slipped and hit the door, pushing it open. The sound made Maya jump. She turned, and her eyes locked with mine. She froze for a second before scrambling to pull her clothes back into place. Now, what are you doing out here? Kevin turned his head away, squeezing his eyes shut in shame. Maya quickly pulled the comforter up over Kevin's body and hurried out of the room. I'll go make us something to eat. As she brushed past me, her face was still a deep crimson, and the proximity made my heart hammer in my chest. She was just as stunning as she'd been back in college. After she was gone, Kevin slowly turned his head back to me. Close the door, he said, his voice low. I walked over and sat on the edge of the bed, the air thick with embarrassment. He struggled to sit up, and I quickly grabbed a couple of pillows to prop him up against the headboard. He let out a long, heavy sigh. Leo, he started, I don't even have to say it, right? You and me. You know how we are. I didn't know where he was going with this, but he was right. From freshman year until we graduated, we were practically brothers. We shared food, clothes, everything. Even after we started our careers, we made a point to see each other, until he started dodging my calls 6 months ago. That's when I knew something was wrong. After asking around, I finally found out about the accident. And Maya, from the moment she started dating Kevin, had always treated me like family. Back when we all lived in the same apartment complex, she'd have me over for dinner all the time, even did my laundry for me once or twice. They were the perfect couple, the best friend a guy could ask for. Kevin, whatever you need, man. Just say the word. My mind, however, was still stuck on the image of Maya's face, a fire burning in my gut. I had to force the thought away. He grabbed my hand, a single tear rolling down from the corner of his eye. Maya married me and hasn't had a day of peace since. Back then, at least I could provide for her, be a husband to her. Now, after the accident, he trailed off, hesitating. You saw what was happening just now, he continued, his voice cracking. She has needs, but I'm useless from the waist down. I can't feel a thing. So, I was wondering if I could ask you, could you do me a huge favor? Before he even finished the sentence, a wild guess began to form in my mind. Tomorrow is Maya's birthday, he said, looking me straight in the eye. I want her to be happy. Just once. You know what I mean? Kevin's eyes were gleaming with a desperate hope. I won't lie. Maya was perfect. There had been more than a few lonely nights when her face was the only thing I could picture. But to hear Kevin actually say it, it was too much to process. The thought was there, but I never thought I'd have the guts to act on it. Kevin, she's your wife. I can't do that, I said, my voice trembling. He gripped my arm tighter. Forget that. She's our friend, a woman who's suffering. No one has to know. Besides, I know she likes you, Leo, and she's beautiful. Are you going to tell me you've never thought about it? He was hitting every nerve. It wasn't just my own hidden feelings for Maya. It was seeing her pain up close, understanding how miserable she must be. Looking at the desperate hope in his eyes, I finally caved. But I had one major concern. What if Maya wasn't on board? Kevin told me to go out the next morning and buy all of Maya's favorite foods, plus a little booze, to give her the perfect birthday. Because of our conversation, I felt incredibly awkward at dinner. Every time I looked at Maya, my mind would race. She seemed just as embarrassed, constantly putting food on my plate and telling me to eat more, but never once making eye contact. She didn't ask me how I'd been or what was new in my life, like she always used to. I scarfed down my food, my heart pounding, and retreated to the guest room. Later that night, I woke up again and stumbled toward the bathroom. As I got closer, I heard a faint sound from inside. I pressed my ear to the door and recognized Maya's voice, soft and strained. She was in there, taking care of herself. It hit me then. Kevin really was completely gone. This was her only release. Seeing her suffering like this solidified my resolve. Tomorrow, I had to do this. For her. I was going to make her feel what it was like to be happy again. I crept back to my room. That night, I dreamed of her for what felt like hours. The next morning, after Maya left for work, I did as Kevin asked. I went to the store and bought groceries for a steak dinner, her favorite, and 2 bottles of good red wine. When Maya got home from work, she saw the table set, the cake on the counter, and her eyes immediately filled with tears. The awkwardness from the day before vanished. Halfway through dinner, Kevin shot me a look. I poured a glass of wine and handed it to Maya. Maya, you've done so much for Kevin. For both of us. This is for you. My hand was shaking slightly, worried she'd refuse. But she just smiled, a genuine, warm smile. She took the glass and drank it all. As soon as she set it down, Kevin filled it back up. Maya, you've had it so tough. I'm so sorry for everything. Let me drink one with you. She had no choice but to drink another. At first, it was Kevin and me refilling her glass. But after a few, maybe because the stress and sadness finally caught up with her, she started pouring her own, one glass after another. Her face grew rosy, her eyes heavy with intoxication. I've been sitting too long, Kevin announced suddenly. My back is killing me. You two go on, I'm going to go lie down. He gave me a sharp, meaningful look, and I knew it was my cue. I got up and wheeled him into the bedroom. 3. Before I left his room, Kevin grabbed my arm. Now, it's all on you now, man. I nodded and went back to the dining room. Maya was even more flushed, her beautiful eyes hazy and unfocused. Leo, Semir, she slurred, have a drink with me. She tried to stand, raising her glass, but her body swayed. She stumbled forward, looking like she was about to fall right into me. The wine in her glass sloshed over the rim and all down the front of my shirt. A flicker of sobriety returned to her eyes, and she panicked. Oh my God, Leo, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to. Let me get that for you. Her face turned an even deeper shade of red as she fumbled, trying to wipe the wine off my shirt with her hands. I could feel the heat from her palms through the thin fabric. I was mortified, but a part of me was still reeling from the plan. When Maya realized what she was doing, she quickly pulled back. But she was either too drunk or too flustered, because as she stepped away, she lost her balance completely. I lunged forward and caught her, my arm wrapping around her waist. It felt soft and delicate, and the contact sent a jolt through me. Her breathing hitched, and the air filled with the scent of wine and her perfume. It was intoxicating. Maya tried to struggle out of my arms, but I held on. Maya, let's have some cake first, I whispered, guiding her over to the couch. I set her down gently and turned to get the cake from the coffee table. My eyes fell on her for a moment, remembering Kevin's request. I lit the candles and turned off the lights. The flickering flames danced across her beautiful face. After she made a wish and blew them out, I didn't turn the lights back on. In the dim glow from the street lights outside, I scooped a little frosting from the cake with my finger and playfully dabbed it on her nose. She giggled. Leo, stop it. Turn on the lights so I can get a piece for Kevin. I didn't move to the light switch. Instead, I moved closer. Maya, Kevin's asleep. I want some cake. She started to reach for the knife to cut me a slice, but I caught her hand, my fingers brushing against her skin. She didn't seem angry, just amused. Leo, what's gotten into you? She laughed. This is all the cake I need. Stealing my nerves, I leaned in and kissed her. For a second, it was electric. I'd done it. This was really happening. Knock, knock, knock. A loud banging at the front door shattered the moment. I wanted to ignore it, but the knocking was relentless. It wasn't going to stop. Maya, jolted by the noise, regained some of her senses, and pushed me away. Defeated, I stood up and flicked on the lights. Maya was already smoothing out her clothes. She walked to the door and peered through the peephole. It was the building manager. She opened the door, and the manager handed her an envelope. Here's the dividend check from the Condo Association for last month's advertising revenue. This was the condo she had bought after marrying Kevin, using her own savings plus the money from selling her old place. She'd picked it specifically because it was well managed. The blast of cold air from the hallway cleared my head. A wave of guilt washed over me. What was I doing? Conspiring with her husband to take advantage of her. This wasn't what she wanted. This wasn't about comforting her. It was about me getting what I'd always fantasized about. It was a setup, plain and simple, with zero respect for her. By the time I processed all this, Maya had closed the door. She turned to me, her face still red, and held out the check. Here, you should take this. You've been out of college for a while now. You should be saving up, maybe find a girlfriend. Now, we can't do this. I'm Kevin's wife. She was speaking in stammers, already turning to walk away. I knew she was trying to give me an out, blaming my actions on a moment of impulse, telling me to find someone else. I couldn't let her think that. I grabbed her arm. Maya, it wasn't just me. Kevin and I, we planned this. And I've always had feelings for you. She froze, staring at me as my confession hung in the air. Her cheeks flushed a deeper crimson. She gently pulled her arm free, a look of frustration on her face. You're both being ridiculous. I'm Kevin's wife. And you. I can't believe Kevin would go along with such a crazy idea. Just then, Kevin wheeled himself out from the bedroom. He must have heard everything. Maya, don't blame Leo. I beg him to do it. It's my fault. I'm useless. I can't help you, but Leo can. Maya went to his side, her head bowed. She shook it firmly. Kevin, I've always seen Leo as a little brother. If we did something like that, how could I ever face anyone again? As she spoke, she glanced at me, and I felt a chill run down my spine. Kevin wasn't giving up. If we don't say anything, who's going to know? But Maya's mind was made up. No, she said, her voice resolute. Her refusal, and that one sharp glance she shot me, made me shrink. A complicated mix of pity and affection washed over me. I knew pushing this any further would be pointless. It would only make her feel guilty and resentful. As Kevin started to argue again, Maya simply took hold of his wheelchair and pushed him back toward the bedroom. I cleaned up the dining table. When I walked back to my room, I could hear the sound of sobbing coming from behind their closed door. It sounded like Kevin was still pleading with her, but her answer didn't change. After a long while, the crying stopped. A few minutes later, their door opened and Maya emerged, pulling a small suitcase. She saw me standing in the hall and paused. I have to go out of town for a few days on a business trip, she said, her voice flat. Leo, please take care of Kevin for me and talk to him. Make sure he doesn't get any more crazy ideas. And just like that, she was gone. My worst fear had come true. The front door clicked shut. I sighed and went to Kevin's room, handing him a tissue. Kevin, I think we should just drop it. She doesn't want this. We can't force her. He wiped his eyes and slammed a fist against his lifeless leg. I've failed her. I can't stand to see her suffer like this, Leo. I just can't. To calm him down, I lied and told him I'd look for another opportunity to try again. That seemed to put him at ease, and he finally drifted off to sleep. Back in my room, I couldn't stop replaying the scene on the couch. I tossed and turned all night. For the next few days, Maya was really gone. I started to worry she might never come back. But she texted me every day with detailed instructions on how to care for Kevin. Looking after him myself, I finally understood how exhausting her life was. And she had to do all this on top of working a full-time job to support them. The entire weight of their world was on her shoulders. I made a promise to myself then and there. I had to help her. I couldn't let her leave Kevin. On the fourth day, I went out to buy groceries. I ran into an old farmer selling vegetables from his truck at the entrance of the complex and bought what I needed from him, getting me home a little earlier than usual. As I opened the door, I heard voices coming from Kevin's bedroom. Don't worry, I promised you I'd do it. Maya's out of town right now, but we'll continue with the plan when she gets back. It was Kevin's voice. Then another, a woman's. I don't care how you do it. The money and this condo have to be mine. I know. Now you should go. Leo will be back any minute. I had no idea what they were talking about. What plan? What were they going to do to Maya? Before I could hear any more, a woman walked out of Kevin's room. She wore heavy makeup that couldn't hide the harsh, mean set of her face. A tight dress squeezed her thick waist, creating an unflattering bulge of flesh. She was a world away from Maya. She jumped when she saw me. "What are you doing here?" Her question was so absurd it was almost funny. "I think that's my line." Kevin wheeled himself out of the room, a forced smile on his face. "Now, you're back early. This is my cousin from back home. She's looking for work as a caregiver." The heavy-set woman quickly recovered. Right. I'm just trying to find a job." I didn't like her one bit, and it had nothing to do with her looks. She just radiated a kind of bitter energy. "Kevin doesn't need a caregiver. You should go." The woman's brow furrowed, but she didn't argue. She just pushed past me and left. Kevin's eyes darted toward me. "Leo," he asked cautiously, "did you hear what we were talking about?" I shook my head immediately. "No. I just got back and saw her coming out of your room." "Seriously, Kevin, Maya takes good care of you. You don't need a stranger in the house." My quick denial seemed to satisfy him. He nodded. "I just feel sorry for her. She's a widow with a kid. I was just trying to help her out. But you're right, forget it." He wheeled himself back into his room. I went into the kitchen, my heart pounding against my ribs. I had a gut feeling that something was very wrong between Kevin and that woman, which is why I lied instinctively. But then again, Kevin was paralyzed. Even if he wanted to do something, he couldn't. And compared to Maya, that woman was nothing. I tried to calm down, telling myself I must have misheard them from the hallway. That night, after getting Kevin settled, I went back to my room. I thought that would be the end of it, but the next day, the woman was back. I was just getting home from the grocery store when I heard arguing inside. The second I opened the door, the voices stopped. I saw the heavy-set woman sitting on the couch with her legs crossed, like she owned the place. Kevin was in his wheelchair nearby, looking nervous. When he saw me, he gestured for me to push him into the bedroom. Once the door was closed, he looked at me with pleading eyes. "Leo, just let her stay for a few days, please. Don't tell Maya. I swear, she'll leave as soon as she finds a job." I couldn't stand the woman, and Kevin's deference to her was bizarre. "Kevin, she's just a relative. Why are you acting so scared of her?" He grabbed my arm. "Her family helped me out a lot back in the day. Think of this as me repaying a debt. Just a few days, okay?" This was news to me. I'd never heard him mention this cousin before. But he was begging, and it wasn't my house. I figured I could keep his secret. The woman made herself right at home. She did nothing but sit on the couch all day, watching TV and cracking sunflower seeds, spitting the shells all over the floor. Because Kevin had asked me to put up with her, I bit my tongue. I figured I'd just wait until Maya came back, and then I'd be gone. But every time I looked at the mess, I thought of Maya. When she was here, the apartment was always spotless. It had never looked this disgusting. By the third day, she still hadn't made any move to find a job. My vacation time was almost up, and I was getting antsy. I sent Maya a text, giving her a heads up about the uninvited guest. I wanted to handle this before I left. I knew Maya's kind nature would just let her get walked all over. Maya texted back almost immediately. She said she'd be home tomorrow. I told Kevin that Maya was coming back. He just grunted in response, no hint of happiness in his voice. In fact, he looked worried. Isn't he the one who feels so guilty and misses her so much? I thought, why doesn't he seem happy she's returning? Whatever was going through his head, I was thrilled. Kevin thought for a moment, then looked at me. "Leo, when Maya gets back, do you think you could try again?" "With her." I cut him off before he could finish. "Kevin, it's not that I don't want to. It's that she doesn't want to. We can't force her." I'd already made up my mind. I couldn't help Kevin with the scheme anymore. The whole thing had created a thick wall of awkwardness between Maya and me, and I just wanted things to go back to the way they were. Seeing I was resolute, Kevin finally dropped it. To my surprise, that evening, after I told him Maya was coming back, Kevin must have said something to the heavy-set woman because she packed her things and left. When Maya arrived the next morning, the coast was clear. She looked exhausted. Her eyes were bloodshot, and it was obvious she hadn't been sleeping well. Seeing her like that made me feel even guiltier for ever agreeing to Kevin's insane plan. I should have found a different way, a better way, to approach her. I took her suitcase to the bedroom for her and brought her a glass of water. She saw right through my solicitous behavior and smiled, patting my shoulder. "Leo, let's just forget about what happened. From now on, let's all just try to live our lives, okay?" I nodded, thinking to myself, I still want you, Maya. But I'll do it right this time. I won't let a woman like you slip away. Maya went to the kitchen and cooked a meal. As the three of us sat at the table, she asked about the woman who had been staying over. Kevin's hand paused, chopsticks halfway to his mouth. He quickly recovered and fed her the same line he'd given me. Oh, just a cousin from the country looking for work. She found something and moved out. Maya didn't press him. She turned to me and started asking about my plans. The familiar warmth returned, and the barrier between us finally dissolved. Kevin poured us both a glass of juice, a relieved smile on his face. I was being an idiot before. I'm glad that's all behind us. The three of us, living a good life, that's all that matters. Our 3 glasses clinked together, a silent agreement to put the past to rest. After dinner, I stood up to help clear the table, but a sudden wave of dizziness hit me. It felt like I'd been drinking heavily. My head was spinning, and a strange heat began to build inside me. But I hadn't touched a drop of alcohol. I was about to say something when I noticed Maya's face was flushed a deep, unnatural red, just like on her birthday, when she'd had too much wine. Only Kevin seemed completely normal. Maya tried to stand, but she swayed unsteadily. I rushed to steady her. The moment my hands touched her warm skin, the thoughts I'd suppressed came roaring back. But some small, rational part of my brain screamed that this was wrong. This wasn't how it was supposed to happen. My body, however, wasn't listening. Leo, you both look like you're in pain, Kevin said calmly from his chair. I turned to look at him and saw the full glass of juice still sitting in front of him. A horrifying possibility clicked into place. The juice. There was something in our juice. Kevin had poured the drinks. Neither of us thought anything of it. We'd both drained our glasses, and now our bodies were betraying us. He couldn't have given up on his plan. He was still trying to make it happen. While my mind was racing, Maya clung to me, pressing her body against mine. But our friendship had just been repaired. If I went through with this now, especially like this, it would be destroyed forever. Should I just go along with it? Give in? No, I wasn't a scumbag. I wouldn't use such a disgusting trick. I tried to call out to Kevin for help, but then I saw him raise his phone. He was recording us. Kevin, what are you doing? The gentle, familiar face of my best friend twisted into a smug sneer. What does it look like I'm doing? I'm getting a video of you two, so everyone can see what kind of people you really are. The change in him was so abrupt, he looked like a stranger. I'm your best friend. I yelled. He ignored me and made a call. You can come over now. The plan worked. The plan worked? My mind flashed back to the conversation I'd overheard. The plan against Maya. So this was it. Using every last bit of willpower, I dug my nails into my own leg, the sharp pain clearing my head for a second. I pushed Maya away, but her consciousness was already fading. She kept murmuring, so hot. Help me, it's so hot. The second I pushed her off, she stumbled right back against me. Kevin watched it all with cold detachment, his phone held steady. The front door opened, and a heavy-set woman walked in, a younger man who looked a few years younger than me at her side. In that moment, I understood everything. The woman, Brenda, looked Maya up and down and snorted. What a tramp. Look at her, acting like she hasn't had a man in years. She plopped down on the couch, crossing her legs. Kyle, she said to the young man, go give her a hand. I need to get some good footage. When she wakes up, she'll be too ashamed to ever show her face again. Kyle started toward Maya. I tried to push him away, but the drug had sapped my strength. I was no match for him. I gritted my teeth and shoved his hand away from her. That set him off. He forgot about Maya and kicked me hard in the stomach. I crumpled to the floor, and he started laying into me with punches and kicks. Normally, I could have taken 2 guys like him, but I was powerless, able to do nothing but curl up and protect my head. Through the haze of pain, I looked at Kevin. My best friend, the man who had always been like a brother to me, just watched. His face was completely calm, as if he were watching a stranger being beaten on the street. I couldn't understand it. How could a person change so completely, so fast? Brenda, sitting on the couch, provided the answer. I've got to hand it to you, Kevin, she said with a laugh. You've got a heart of stone. This guy was your best friend for years. Doesn't it bother you to see him like this? Kevin grunted. He's not family. Why should I care? Besides, I'm doing this for you and our son. Not family. The words hit me like a sledgehammer. Brenda cackled. That's right. Now you've got a real son. Once we get the video, That little tramp will be so humiliated she'll leave with nothing but the clothes on her back. This condo, the money, it'll all be ours. Don't you worry. Me and Kyle will take good care of you." My head spun even harder. A real son? The massive secret was too much to process. Across the room, Maya, though barely conscious, saw Kyle beating me and stumbled toward us, trying to intervene. Kyle stopped hitting me and turned his attention back to her, grabbing her arm and starting to drag her toward the bedroom. I knew what he was going to do. Maya had always been good to me. I couldn't let him defile her. I struggled to my feet to stop him, but my legs gave out from under me. Just as despair washed over me, the front door burst open with a crash. I saw the comforting blue of police uniforms and let out a breath I didn't know I was holding. They were just in time. A few days earlier, I'd seen a public safety booth in town and downloaded a new emergency response app. It had a feature that could send your location to 911 with a single shortcut press. The moment I realized we'd been drugged, I'd managed to trigger it from my phone in my pocket. The tension finally drained from my body. I watched a female officer gently cover Maya with her own jacket, and then everything went black. I woke up in a hospital room. Maya was sitting by my bed. When she saw my eyes open, she burst into tears. "Leo, you scare me to death. If anything had happened to you, I would have felt guilty for the rest of my life." I wiped a tear from her cheek. "Don't cry. I am okay. Are you?" She nodded, explaining that they'd brought her to the hospital and she had recovered quickly. I, on the other hand, had been under extreme stress and had taken a beating, so my body had given out. Kyle had been arrested for assault. Brenda had apparently come by the hospital to ask for a settlement, but left when she saw I was still unconscious. Maya was sure she'd be back. I had no intention of settling, but there was one thing I desperately needed to know. I figured Maya didn't know the whole story about Brenda and Kyle, so I didn't ask her. I just told her I wanted to go home. When we got back to the apartment, Brenda was there, yelling at Kevin and demanding he get me to drop the charges. When she saw us, she rushed over. "Leo, you need to go to the police station right now and tell them you caused your own injuries. Get them to let Kyle go." Her audacity was breathtaking. I almost laughed. "Who the hell are you? Why should I listen to you?" The flesh on her face trembled with rage. "I'm telling you, I still have the video of you and that whore. Do what I say, or I'll post it online for the whole world to see what a pair of disgusting animals you are." She waved her phone in my face. I wasn't going to be blackmailed. "Go ahead, post it. I'm not dropping the charges. Now, get out of my friend's house." If everyone saw a video of us together, it might just be the push Maya and I needed. Seeing that her threats weren't working, Brenda turned to Kevin for help. Kevin put on his old, gentle smile, as if the cold-hearted monster I'd seen the other night was just a figment of my imagination. "Leo, could you just—" I cut him off. "Shouldn't you be explaining who this woman really is?" Kevin's face fell. Brenda, however, had no problem spilling the truth. "Kevin and I were together before he married Maya," she announced smugly. "He broke up with me to marry her, but right after, I found out I was pregnant." The whole story came tumbling out. After Kevin found out he had a son, he wanted him back in his life. The day of his accident, he'd been rushing to see the boy. After he was paralyzed, Brenda tracked him down. She told him Kyle needed his own place to start a life. So Kevin cooked up the scheme to get Maya's condo. But Maya was a perfect, devoted wife, giving him no grounds for a divorce. So he decided to ruin her reputation, get me to sleep with her, record it, and force her to leave with nothing. He'd get his son the condo and be free of Maya. A perfect plan. But the building manager's interruption on her birthday had ruined it. Unwilling to give up, he had Brenda buy him the drugs to spike our juice, leading to everything that happened next. Maya, who had been silent this whole time, listened to Brenda's gleeful confession, her face turning pale with rage. "Kevin, I worked my fingers to the bone to hold this family together, and you conspired with this. This person is steal from me. Go on, post your video. The hospital has reports on what you did to me and Leo. You know exactly what kind of crime you committed." 11 Kevin flinched. Drugging us was a serious crime, and he knew it. The truth was out. Maya grabbed my hand, and we walked out of that apartment. She told me not to worry. She would never let them have her condo. I didn't care about the condo. It was the betrayal that hurt. Was blood really that much more important than years of loyalty and love? But one thing was clear. The biggest obstacle between Maya and me was now gone. Without me dropping the charges, Kyle was sent to jail. Brenda, furious, took it out on Kevin. With Maya gone, Brenda didn't get the condo or the money, and her son was locked up. She resented Kevin and couldn't be bothered to care for him. That's when she dropped the final bombshell. Kyle wasn't Kevin's son. Neglected and filthy, stripped of his last shred of dignity, the news was the final straw. Kevin lunged at Brenda in a desperate rage, but he was no match for her size. In the struggle, she shoved his wheelchair, toppling it. Kevin's head slammed against the hard floor, and blood pooled around him. Terrified, Brenda ran. With his last bit of strength, Kevin called Maya. By the time she got there, it was too late. On his deathbed, Kevin finally seemed to understand his monstrous mistake. He had destroyed the two people who loved him most. He begged Maya for forgiveness over and over, and told her where he'd hidden a stash of cash. We shared a bed for years, and he still had secrets. Maya told me on the way back from the hospital, her voice hollow. If he hadn't died, I never would have known he was planning for a life without me. She found the money right where he said it would be. He'd been secretly saving it behind her back. Tucked away with the cash was a signed set of divorce papers. Maya transferred the money to my bank account, calling it compensation from Kevin, a final act to honor the friendship we once had. Brenda was arrested and charged with manslaughter. The ordeal was too much for Maya. She decided she needed to get away, to travel, and clear her head. I had my own life and career to get back to. We said our goodbyes at the bus station. She gave me a long hug. "Leo, you'll always be my best friend," she said. "Wait for me to come back." I nodded, but as I watched her bus pull away, I smiled to myself. I was already planning my own surprise return. She wouldn't be waiting for long.